just weeks before a destination wedding in Italy that many assumed was already set in stone. Something quietly changed. The engagement between Dak Prescott and Sarah Jane Ramos suddenly came to an end, only about 5 weeks before the ceremony was expected to happen. At first, rumors started spreading online about a possible disagreement involving a prenuptial agreement. But then, Sarah Jane Ramos stepped forward and addressed those claims directly. According to her own comment under a viral social media clip, the reason behind the split had nothing to do with a prenup at all. So if that widely shared rumor wasn't true, what actually happened? And how did a relationship that seemed to be moving toward a wedding this spring suddenly take a different direction? To understand that, we need to go back to how this story unfolded and what the couple themselves have said publicly. When news first surfaced that Prescott and Ramos had ended their engagement, the internet quickly began trying to fill in the gaps. One of the loudest discussions came from a clip posted by the sports talk show The Speakeasy, where co-hosts Emmanuel Acho and LaShawn McCoy were debating the broader topic of prenuptial agreements. In the clip, a screenshot circulated online suggesting a rumor that Prescott had been pushing for a very strict prenup in recent months, and that Ramos had reportedly refused to sign it. But before the speculation could grow any further, Ramos herself responded. In a comment under the video, she wrote clearly, "This had nothing to do with a prenup. I hope we can put that rumor to rest now." It was a short message, but it immediately shifted the conversation. Because if the prenup rumor wasn't accurate, then the story behind the breakup might be more complex, and possibly more private than people assumed. So what do we actually know about the timeline leading up to the split? Because from the outside, everything seemed to be moving forward normally. Publicly available reports suggest the relationship between Prescott and Ramos first became known in September 2023. Over time, the couple appeared together at events and gradually shared glimpses of their life online. Then, in October 2024, the relationship reached a major milestone. Prescott proposed. The engagement signaled that the couple was preparing to build a long-term future together, and plans reportedly began forming for a wedding in Italy. For many observers, it looked like a joyful next chapter. But there was another important part of their life together that often stayed out of the spotlight. They were also raising a family. Prescott and Ramos shared 2 daughters, Margaret Jane Rose, who is 2 years old, and Aurora Rain, who is just 9 months old. And according to statements shared through representatives, both parents remained deeply focused on their children. But if the couple was planning a wedding and raising a young family, together, what led them to call off the engagement only weeks before the ceremony? The answer, according to sources close to the situation, may actually be simpler than many expected. Shortly after the breakup became public, a representative for Ramos spoke to People magazine. The message emphasized that the situation was not the result of a dramatic confrontation. According to the representative, there had been no major argument and no escalating conflict leading up to the decision. Instead, the split was described as mutual. Both Ramos and Prescott were said to be heartbroken that the wedding would not happen, but they reportedly agreed that stepping back from the engagement was the right choice for them at this time. And while the details remain private, the statement highlighted something that both sides continue to prioritize: their daughters. The representative explained that Prescott and Ramos remain committed to raising their children together in a loving and supportive environment. They also asked for privacy while they adjust to the change. But there's one detail that made the timing of the breakup even more surprising. Just days before the news surfaced, Ramos had shared something online that seemed to tell a completely different story. Only a few days before the breakup became public, Sarah Jane Ramos shared a series of photos from what appeared to be a joyful milestone moment. The images showed her celebrating a bachelorette weekend in the Bahamas with a large group of close friends. The post included smiling group photos, beach moments, and the kind of relaxed energy that usually surrounds wedding celebrations. Her caption reflected that same feeling. She wrote that she believed you could get through anything in life as long as you had great friends around you, and she expressed appreciation for the group that joined her on the trip. From the outside, the celebration looked like another step toward the upcoming ceremony in Italy, which is exactly why the breakup news caught so many people off guard. If the celebration had just happened, how did things shift so quickly afterward? According to available reports, the change appears to have happened very recently. Sources speaking through representatives explained that the decision to end the engagement was still very fresh for both sides. In fact, the representative told People magazine that the situation was still shocking for them as they process what happened. This helps explain why there are still so few concrete details about the reason behind the decision. And it also highlights something that often happens when public figures go through personal transitions. Information travels quickly online, but the full context sometimes takes longer to emerge. That gap between speculation and confirmed information is often where rumors begin. And in this case, the prenup rumor is a perfect example of how quickly a narrative can form online. But the people involved may see the situation very differently. When a high-profile athlete like Dak Prescott experiences a major life change, it's almost guaranteed to become a major topic of discussion across sports media and social platforms. Fans naturally become curious, commentators share opinions, clips circulate, and sometimes a single theory can spread much faster than verified facts. That appears to be what happened with the prenup rumor. A discussion on the talk show The Speakeasy quickly became part of a broader online conversation about relationships, finances, and marriage. But when Ramos publicly stated that the breakup had nothing to do with a prenup, it reminded people of an important reality. Not every widely shared explanation reflects what actually happened. Sometimes the truth is simply that two people reached a difficult decision together, and when you look at the broader picture of their relationship, one detail stands out above everything else. Even though the engagement ended, the family they built together remains a priority. Both Prescott and Ramos have reportedly emphasized that their daughters remain at the center of their decisions. According to their representative, the two parents are committed to raising their children in a positive and supportive environment. That kind of focus can often shape how public figures handle personal challenges. Instead of turning a difficult moment into public conflict, some choose to step back, regroup, and focus on stability for their family. And while the details of the breakup remain private, the message shared publicly has stayed consistent. There was no dramatic public dispute, no confirmed financial disagreement. Just two people who reportedly made a mutual decision during an emotional moment in their lives. But there's a broader lesson hidden inside this story, especially in the way the rumors spread. And it's something that applies far beyond one relationship. When well-known public figures experience a personal change, the story rarely stays quiet for long. In the case of Dak Prescott and Sarah Jane Ramos, several factors made the situation especially visible. There was a high-profile career, a planned destination wedding in Italy, a young family, and a timeline that seemed, from the outside, to be moving quickly toward a major life milestone. When all of that suddenly shifted, curiosity naturally followed. But curiosity online often comes with a side effect. People begin connecting dots that may not actually be related. And that's exactly why Ramos chose to respond publicly to the prenup rumor, to clarify that the explanation spreading online did not reflect reality. But this situation also highlights something bigger than just one relationship. It shows how the speed of modern conversations can shape the narrative before the full picture is even known. In today's social media environment, a single post, clip, or comment can start a wave of discussion within minutes. Talk shows debate possibilities, fans share theories, and headlines can sometimes focus on the most dramatic angle. But situations like this remind us that real-life decisions are often more complicated and more personal than any single explanation. According to statements shared publicly, the end of the engagement was described as a mutual decision. No confirmed public conflict, no dramatic confrontation. Just a difficult choice between two people who, by all accounts, still care deeply about the family they share. And that kind of decision rarely fits neatly into a viral headline. So what does this story actually leave us with? Not just an unanswered question about a wedding that won't happen, but a reminder about how we interpret stories in the public eye. Moments like this show how quickly online narratives can take shape, but they also show the value of hearing directly from the people involved. When Sarah Jane Ramos clarified that the breakup had nothing to do with a prenup, she didn't provide every detail, but she did reset the conversation toward what was actually confirmed. And sometimes that's the most responsible way to handle a personal situation in the public spotlight. Not by sharing every private detail, but by correcting the part of the story that isn't accurate. For Dak Prescott and Ramos, the focus now appears to be on something much more important than public speculation: their daughters, and the commitment to raise them in a supportive environment moving forward. Stories about public figures often start with curiosity, but they can end with perspective. Behind every headline is a real-life situation that may be more complex, quieter, and more personal than the internet expects. And sometimes the biggest takeaway isn't the rumor that spread the fastest. It's the reminder that not every story needs a dramatic explanation. Because relationships, even high-profile ones, can change for reasons that remain private. And that's okay.